The sharp ring of a smartphone sliced through the quiet of Rebecca Manning's cozy Chicago apartment. At 28, she sat curled on her couch, clutching a mug of cold coffee, her hazel eyes fixed on the glowing screen. 7 missed calls, all from Mom, Linda. Rebecca's thumb hovered over the call button, a familiar knot tightening in her stomach. Outside, snow dusted the city streets, and the faint hum of holiday traffic buzzed below. It was late December, and the weight of Christmas loomed like a storm cloud. Rebecca wasn't just any 20-something. She'd clawed her way to independence after years under her family's thumb. A copywriter at a bustling ad agency, she thrived on the chaos of deadlines and the thrill of crafting words that sold. Her apartment, though small, was her sanctuary, a space carved out after graduating from Northwestern, where she'd traded family expectations for financial freedom. Control over her time felt like a hard-won trophy, one she wasn't about to surrender. She took a deep breath and answered the phone. Finally, Linda's voice crackled through, laced with that familiar mix of warmth and reproach. "I've been calling you all day, Becca." Rebecca winced at the nickname. "I was at work, Mom," she said, though the truth was she'd seen the calls after hours and dodged them. Conversations with Linda rarely ended well. "So, what's the plan for Christmas?" Linda asked, her tone shifting to something calculated, like a chess player moving a pawn. Rebecca's guard went up. "Same as always, I guess. Head to the house in Evanston. See everyone." She kept her voice neutral, but her grip on the mug tightened. Linda's next words hit like a curveball. "Well, this year's gonna be different. Your Aunt Karen came up with a brilliant idea. All us adults are going on a Caribbean cruise, Christmas to New Year's." Isn't that exciting? The word, all, hung in the air. But Rebecca knew better. "Am I included?" she asked, already sensing the answer. A pause. Then Linda's voice, softer now. "Well, honey, you've got a special role." Rebecca's stomach churned. "What role?" she pressed, her voice low. "Looking after Emily, Jack, and Sophie," Linda said, as if it were the most natural thing in the world. "They're too young for a cruise, 11, 8, and 4. You're so good with them." Rebecca's jaw clenched. "So, you're saying I stay behind to babysit 3 kids for a week while everyone else sips margaritas in the Caribbean?" Her words were sharp, cutting through the pretense. Linda sighed. "Don't put it like that, Becca. You love those kids, and you don't have plans for Christmas, right? Besides, you don't have kids of your own yet, so this'll be great practice." Anger flared in Rebecca's chest, hot and fierce. "Mom, I have a life. I have friends, work deadlines, plans. I'm not your free nanny." Linda's tone hardened. "This is for the family. Rebecca, the tickets are bought, non-refundable. We're counting on you." Rebecca fought the urge to slam the phone down. "When were you going to ask me? Or did you just assume I'd say yes?" she demanded. Linda's voice rose. "I didn't think you'd say no. You've always been the good girl, doing what's best for the family. I'm not a kid anymore, Mom," Rebecca said, her voice steady but cold. "I get to decide how I spend my time. I'm saying no." Silence stretched across the line, heavy and tense. "Rebecca, don't be selfish," Linda finally said. "This is a special trip for everyone. Everyone except me." Rebecca shot back. "You planned this without asking. Expecting me to drop everything. That's what's selfish." Linda's voice turned sharp. "Enough. I'll have your dad call you. You'll listen to him." Before the call ended, Rebecca's resolve hardened. "If you expect me to babysit, I'm not coming home for Christmas," she declared, unsure if Linda even heard. That night, Rebecca's apartment felt smaller, the walls closing in as her phone buzzed relentlessly with calls from her parents. She ignored them, sending each to voicemail. A text from her Uncle Tom popped up. "Becca, think about the family," she scoffed, bitterness curling her lips. "In this family, thinking about the family means sacrificing myself for everyone else," she muttered, sinking deeper into the couch. Rebecca dialed her best friend, Sarah, who knew the Manning family drama all too well. "They're trying to make you play Nay again, aren't they?" Sarah said the second she picked up. Rebecca spilled the story, her voice rising with frustration. "This time, I said no. I'm done letting them decide my life. Good for you, Sarah said fiercely. You've been way too nice for way too long. You deserve your own time. Rebecca hesitated, glancing at her phone as another call from her dad. Michael flashed on the screen. Dad keeps calling, she admitted. Don't answer, Sarah advised. Your answer's not changing, right? They're just trying to guilt you. Sarah's words were like a lifeline, pulling Rebecca back to her resolve. When her dad called again, she answered, cutting straight to the point. Dad, my answer's no. Michael's voice was calm, almost too calm. Becca, we just want you to show some compassion for the family. Compassion? Rebecca's voice trembled with anger. You don't respect my time or my plans. Where's the compassion for me? Michael sighed. All right, let's take a break this year. But could you at least come for Christmas morning? The kids would love to see you. Rebecca's instincts screamed caution, but the request seemed reasonable. Fine, she said. Christmas morning only. No babysitting. Promise me. Michael agreed quickly. I promise. Thank you, Becca. The ease of his agreement nagged at her. But she pushed the feeling aside. She'd set her boundaries, clear, firm, unbreakable. In the weeks leading up to Christmas, Rebecca kept her family at arm's length, responding only to the occasional text. The topic of babysitting didn't resurface, which eased her mind, but a quiet unease lingered, like the calm before a storm. On Christmas Eve, as she wrapped presents for her cousins, carefully chosen books for Emily, a Lego set for Jack, and a stuffed bunny for Sophie, she sent a final text to her parents. I'll be there around 11 tomorrow. Merry Christmas. Linda's reply came instantly. Got it. Becca, can't wait to see you. Rebecca allowed herself a small smile. Her relationship with her family had always been a tangled mess. But maybe, just maybe, this Christmas could be a step toward peace, on her terms. She went to bed, the soft glow of holiday lights filtering through her window, unaware that the morning would unravel everything. Christmas dawned crisp and bright. Rebecca loaded her car with gifts, humming along to Jingle Bell Rock on the radio. The drive to her parents' sprawling house in Evanston was familiar. But today, she felt a rare calm. A quick visit, she thought. Hand out nearly 100 characters left hand out presents. Catch up, then back to my life. But as she pulled into the driveway, something was off. The house looked too still. No cars belonging to her parents. Aunt Karen, or Uncle Tom. The lights were on, but the usual chaos of a Manning family Christmas was absent. Frowning, Rebecca grabbed the gifts and approached the front door. Before she could ring the bell, it flew open, and Emily, her 11-year-old cousin, beamed up at her. Becca, you're here. The girl threw her arms around Rebecca, who forced a smile. Merry Christmas, Em. Where is everybody? Emily's face was all innocence. They went out. Mom, Dad, everybody, they're on a trip. You're watching us, right? Rebecca froze, the gifts nearly slipping from her arms. What did you say? She asked, her voice barely a whisper. Jack and Sophie bounded into the foyer, hugging her legs. Did you bring presents? Jack asked, oblivious to the storm brewing in Rebecca's eyes. Her heart pounded as she led the kids to the living room, her mind racing. The house was decked out for Christmas, tinsel sparkling, presents piled under the tree, but it felt like a stage set for a betrayal. On the kitchen counter, she spotted a note. With trembling hands, she picked it up. To Becca, we left on the 9 a.m. flight. Breakfast is ready for the kids. A week's worth of meals is in the fridge. Follow the instructions. Emergency numbers are posted. Bedtimes. Sophie at 7 p.m. Emily and Jack at 8:30 p.m. Love. Mom. Rage surged through Rebecca, so fierce she could barely breathe. They'd ignored her refusal, manipulated her into coming, and left her to play babysitter. The kids, now tearing into their gifts, were oblivious, their laughter a stark contrast to the fury boiling inside her. She stepped into the kitchen and dialed her mother's number, her hands shaking. After several rings, Linda answered, her voice infuriatingly cheerful. Becca, you're there. How are the kids? What were you thinking? Rebecca's voice was low. Dangerous. How could you do this after I said no? Linda's tone shifted to soothing. Patronizing. Calm down. Honey, we knew you'd come through. You're responsible. I'm not your babysitter. Rebecca snapped. I agreed to Christmas morning. Not a week of childcare. This is child neglect. Mom, do you know what happens if I call the police? A gasp came through the line. You wouldn't, Linda said, panic creeping in. Want to bet? Rebecca shot back. You've got 1 hour. Cancel the flight and get back here. Or I'm taking the kids to the police station. Becca, please, Linda began, but Rebecca cut her off. 1 hour. She hung up, her pulse hammering in her ears. Returning to the living room, she plastered on a smile for the kids. Hey, guys, your parents will be back soon. Let's have some fun till then. They cheered, and she threw herself into board games and Christmas stories. Her anger carefully hidden. 45 minutes ticked by. Rebecca glanced at her phone, debating whether to follow through on her threat. But at the 50-minute mark, tires crunched on the driveway. Through the window, she saw her parents' SUV, followed by Karen and Tom's cars. The kids raced to the door, shouting with joy as their parents spilled into the house. Linda approached, her face a mix of guilt and defiance. Becca, let's talk. Rebecca cut her off, grabbing her bag. I'm done. Don't ever use me like this again. She hugged the kids goodbye, slipped out the back door, and drove off. The sound of raised voices, Michael scolding Linda and Karen, fading behind her. As she merged onto the highway, a strange mix of anger, sadness, and liberation pulsed through her. She'd stood her ground, but the cost was yet to come. The Chicago winter bit at Rebecca Manning's fingertips as she stared at her laptop. The glow of the screen casting shadows across her apartment. It was the day after Christmas, and the world was about to know her story. Her Facebook post, a raw, unfiltered account of her family's betrayal, had been a spur-of-the-moment act of defiance. She'd typed it with trembling hands, her heart pounding with equal parts fear and fury. It's time to set the record straight. Yesterday, I went to my family's home for Christmas, only to find my parents, aunt, and uncle had left for a Caribbean cruise, expecting me to babysit 3 kids for a week, despite my clear refusal. I threatened to report them for child neglect. And they returned. Now I'm accused of ruining the family's holiday. The truth? They don't respect my time or choices. I'm not their toy or free nanny. Family means mutual respect, not manipulation. She'd hit post and shut her laptop, expecting a few supportive comments from friends. But as she sipped her morning coffee, her phone buzzed incessantly, notifications piling up like snowdrifts. Her post hadn't just been seen, it had exploded. Hundreds of likes, shares, and comments flooded in, not just from her circle but from strangers across the country. People shared their own stories. My family expected me to drop everything for them too. One wrote, "You're so brave for standing up," said another. Rebecca's story had struck a nerve, resonating with anyone who'd ever felt exploited by those closest to them. Her grandparents, George and Martha, were among the first family members to respond. A message from George popped up, "Rebecca, call me, we need to talk." Then Martha commented publicly, "Linda, Michael, Karen, Tom, I'm ashamed of you." Apologized to Rebecca. Their support, from the family's most respected elders, felt like a lifeline. Rebecca called George, her voice shaking. "Grandpa, it was awful," she said, recounting the Christmas morning ambush. "They're wrong," George said firmly. "You protected your rights. Their actions were irresponsible, especially to the kids. Stay strong. Grandma and I will handle this." But not everyone was on her side. By noon, her parents, Linda and Michael, along with Aunt Karen and Uncle Tom, had launched a counterattack. Linda's Facebook post was a masterclass in manipulation. "It breaks my heart that someone cares so little for family. The kids were let down. And our plans were ruined. I never thought our bond could be so fragile." Comments poured in from family friends. "Such a shame. Linda, kids come first. The younger generation doesn't get family values." Though Linda didn't name Rebecca, the subtext was clear. She was the villain. Karen and Tom piled on, posting venomous updates. Karen called Rebecca a traitor who only thinks of herself. while Tom labeled her emotionally unstable, blowing things out of proportion. Michael's post was colder, more cutting. Rebecca needs to grow up. Threatening the police over a family favor is shameful. The onslaught didn't stop there. Cousins, distant aunts, and uncles joined the fray. Their comments a chorus of condemnation. Family is everything. Rebecca, how could you? Her phone buzzed with hateful texts, each one a dagger. Rebecca's hands shook as she screenshot everything, her anger hardening into resolve. The public, however, was rallying behind her. Her post went viral, shared thousands of times. Blogs picked up the story, with headlines like, "Woman exposes family's manipulation over Christmas babysitting scheme." Strangers flooded her inbox with support. "I cut off my toxic family too. You're not alone." Online forums buzzed with debates about family boundaries. Many praising Rebecca's courage. She hadn't meant to become a symbol, but her story had ignited a movement. That evening, a surprising twist came. Linda posted again. "I need to clarify. My last post was emotional. My husband, sister, and brother-in-law had unfair expectations of our daughter, Rebecca. We didn't respect her wishes and tried to use her as a free babysitter." Her reaction was justified. "I apologize publicly." Rebecca stared at the screen, stunned. A public apology from her mother was unthinkable. Then a text from George explained, "I spoke to Linda. Their behavior was shameful. They've agreed to apologize." But the victory felt hollow. Hours later, an email from Michael arrived, and its contents reignited her fury. "Rebecca, we've apologized publicly, but you need to reconsider your actions. Threatening the police was excessive. We just wanted you to watch the kids for a few days. Your overreaction has humiliated us. You're no longer welcome at family gatherings." Dad, the audacity of it, apologizing in public while privately blaming her, pushed Rebecca over the edge. She called George, reading him the email. "This is unacceptable," he said, his voice tight with anger. "They've learned nothing. You should talk to a lawyer. Rebecca, this is harassment." His words lit a spark. She'd tried reasoning, compromising, enduring. No more. The next morning, Rebecca met with Vanessa Cole, a family law attorney in downtown Chicago. Vanessa listened intently as Rebecca laid out the Christmas incident, the social media smear campaign, and the relentless texts. "Ms. Manning," Vanessa said, her tone calm but serious, "this isn't just a family spat. Their behavior constitutes psychological harassment. The public defamation could be actionable. I recommend starting with a cease and desist letter. If they persist, we can sue for defamation and emotional distress." Rebecca nodded, her resolve steeling. The letter was sent to Linda, Michael, Karen, and Tom, warning of legal action if the harassment continued. But instead of backing off, her family doubled down. Linda posted, "My ungrateful daughter is now threatening to sue her own family. What have we come to?" Michael called her a drama queen seeking attention. Karen and Tom's posts were vicious, accusing her of fabricating the entire story. The lies spread like wildfire, each post chipping away at Rebecca's sanity. Enough was enough. Back in Vanessa's office, Rebecca made the hardest decision of her life. "File the lawsuit," she said, her voice steady despite the storm in her chest. Vanessa nodded. "This won't be easy, but it's necessary to protect you." The suit, filed for defamation and emotional distress, sent shockwaves through the Manning family. Rebecca's grandparents offered to testify, their support unwavering. Emily, Jack, and Sophie, too young to grasp the conflict, remained in her heart. She sent them small gifts, determined to shield them from the chaos. The trial unfolded over months. A grueling battle in a Chicago courtroom. Vanessa presented a damning case, screenshots of Linda's manipulative posts, Michael's accusatory email, Karen and Tom's slanderous comments, and a history of Rebecca being used as the family's unpaid caretaker. George and Martha's testimony was pivotal, painting a picture of a young woman exploited for years under the guise of family duty. The evidence was irrefutable. The judge's ruling was a thunderclap. The actions of Linda Manning, Michael Manning, Karen Thompson, and Tom Thompson constituted clear harassment. She declared, They caused severe emotional distress to Rebecca Manning. Family relationships must be rooted in mutual respect. And the defendants have violated this principle. A restraining order was issued, barring contact. Linda, Michael, Karen, and Tom were ordered to pay significant damages, retract their false statements, and post public apologies. As Rebecca left the courtroom, her grandfather's arm around her, she felt a bittersweet mix of triumph and grief. She'd won, but the family she'd once known was shattered. "You did the right thing," George said, his voice warm. "Time may heal some wounds, but your dignity comes first." The aftermath was brutal for her family. The trial, covered by local and national media, obliterated their reputations. Michael, a respected accountant, was pressured into early retirement, his colleagues distancing themselves. Linda, once a pillar of the Evanston PTA, was asked to step down, her social circle evaporating. Karen and Tom's small hardware store in Wilmette saw sales plummet as customers boycotted, driven away by their tarnished image. Within 6 months, the store closed, and they downsized to a cramped apartment. Drowning in debt, Rebecca cut off all contact with her parents, aunt, and uncle, but maintained a careful connection with George, Martha, and the kids. Years later, Emily, now 18, moved in with Rebecca. Disillusioned with her parents, Jack and Sophie grew distant from Linda and Michael, who relied on hired sitters after Rebecca's exit. Rebecca, meanwhile, built a new life. Her career soared, her ad campaigns winning awards. She married a kind, supportive man, and their daughter brought joy to her days. The scars of her past lingered, but therapy helped her see her strength. "I had to protect myself," she told her therapist. "It was harsh, but it was right." Her story, born from a single Facebook post, continued to inspire. Online communities hailed her as a beacon for those battling toxic family dynamics. Rebecca didn't seek the spotlight, but she carried her truth proudly. The ruins of her old family were a stark lesson: respect is non-negotiable, and those who exploit others will face consequences. As she watched her daughter play in their sunlit backyard, Rebecca knew she'd chosen freedom, and it was worth every fight.